recently, and she's got a lot of stuff that she's got to be doing right now, looking at what she's going to do next. She's possibly considering running for Senate in Arizona. I know she has so much support that she can do whatever she wants, and she's going to have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people support her and whatever she does. And yet she thought it was so important to come to Miami to show support for Donald Trump and recognize that this indictment and this arraignment of him today is political persecution and should not stand. And so I'm so excited for her to get here today, so hopefully we can talk to her about it.
The old saying, you find your true friends are. Well, this is the day for President Trump. He finds out who his true friends are. When Carrie Lake shows up to support him, you can bet your bottom dollar she's going to be behind him every step of the way, every day. So to her, anticipating her to walk up any moment now. Again, you're looking at live pictures from in front of the Miami Federal Courthouse in downtown Miami. It's getting more packed by the minute. Security tight on the air and on the ground. In the air and on the ground. Helicopters circling. Police officers on bicycles. Police cars everywhere. Secret Service. So far, it has been peaceful. People just want to come out and support their president. They love their president. They want him back in office. They want to save this country. They know how important it is. And in just a couple of years, how far our country has fallen under the Biden administration. And if nothing changes, can you imagine how bad it will be with 4 more years of the Biden administration? So it's important for Americans to get out, to support our president, to say enough is enough. How can you do so? You can do so in your local community. That'll go to the state community, and then, of course, the federal. I'm going to let you listen in as we song here. That's beautiful. It continues.
the joke.
They're all sitting in a little room. They're all sitting in a little room eating muffins, drinking coffee together. And then they go out and they play court.
Robots. Hey, it ain't easy, Griffin.
Maybe you don't see my line of reasoning there. Too much YouTube is probably it. Wait, hold on. I have to ask this. Are you a paid? Are you like working and paid to do this? We're going on Amazon. $50 Walmart card and a carton of smoke. Maybe you don't see my line of reasoning there. Too much YouTube is probably it. Wait, hold on. I have to ask this. Are you a paid actor?
Grab your popcorn. Grab your popcorn.
ski is made of the most high-tech and innovative material.
Aaron, you little son of a bitch.
A wheel through his throat right there. So it comes up all the way. And last but not least, the heart of the beast. Now, the Moski has two different engines. It's got a 4,000cc pushing the top, and we got this 30 horsepower motor pushing her through the water. Now, this motor has 5 speeds. Now, number 1, that's cruising mode, when I'm going through weights on. But now 5, that's Jesus mode. If I turn it on 5, this old Moski will be walking on the water. turbo. Oh, shit. All right, I'm moving! Uh-oh, straighten her up. I can't! This is Titanic all over. Doing donuts on the water? Yeah! Look at this! Yeah! I'm gonna need heavy D sparks holding down here. Recovery. Hey, you can't kind of sit on the seat backwards and reach it. So, you can't sit on the seat backwards and reach it. All right, you getting further from? I might have to go home and get a fishing rod to catch it. Oh, there he goes, folks. There he goes. He's going down. He is going down. It's all over with. I can't fail. Oh, she's gone. She is gone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the monkey did not work. That's all the way to be up to basics, folks. The first we hit Michigan. God bless y'all. I love you.
So Bob's going down here on the boat and comes out. That was that boat back there, didn't he? And apparently Bobby's rolling down. And now that he's sitting on an incline like this, his truck's a lot further. So now not only is my postage stuck down here on the ground, but Bobby's truck is stuck down here on the boat ramp, which means we are stuck down here in the middle of nowhere. Good time. Good time. God bless you. I love you. I'm here to tell you the harsh truth of the fact of the matter of the reality that you're embedded in and how to change it. If you don't want to hear that, it's your funeral, and unfortunately, it's everybody's funeral. Because I consider the people who attend a conference like this, you're cutting edge, you're tip of the spear, you're front lines. And unfortunately, I don't think many of you really have heard or really do truly understand what I've been saying over the last 16 years. There are some who do very much get it, but they're definitely in the minority. And I'm going to speak to that dynamic in a way that's not going to be too comfortable. Main reason I do what I do is because I have a deep moral obligation to speak this truth regarding what I know, in order to help other people understand it and action upon information. Do something human can do so that we can end it. Because that's it. That's my motivation. That's the only motivation I need. Is the correct thing, the morally thing is responsible, then do it. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks of it, because what is right, what is true, what is correct remains that against the whole world. It doesn't matter if everybody is against it. It's still the truth. It's still what is right. And that's the attitude I come at all my work from that perspective. Truth is the truth, regardless if anybody wants to hear it or not, and I'm going to speak it. So, this presentation is also about the occult, hence the name Anarchy in the Occult. So, let's just review very briefly what the occult is. This here image on the right is what I would say depicts what all of occult information is. It's cosmic information. It is the ultimate knowledge of creation and the knowledge of cosmic law within creation. And many people would take the Hollywood definition, the Hollywoodized definition, oh, the occult, these are is. Not to say that there can't be aspects of it that deal in a sense like that, but occult information is deep psychology. It's deep human psychology. It's deep, hidden understanding of hidden laws of the universe that are hidden from people for very specific reasons, to control them in their ignorance. The word occult is derived from the Latin adjective occultus, meaning hidden. That is all the word occult means. It means hidden. Occultism is the study of the hidden laws of nature, specifically those laws which are at work in the invisible/mental/spiritual domain, far more than those that are at work in the visible/physical world. Therefore, occultism involves the acceptance of a much wider worldview than that which is ordinarily taken by the everyday person. Occultists, then, may be defined as those who study all the laws of nature, not just the seen laws of nature, both that which are readily seen and those which are much more difficult to see with the physical eyes or with physical measuring instrumentation alone. This is something that has to be perceived with the mind's eye. This is something that has to be perceived through holistic intelligence, not just left-brained intellect. And that's where the problem usually comes in the anarchist community, because you have I'm not going to paint with the broadest brush and say that it's all people within the anarchist community, but there's a large percentage of them that are more purely secular humanists and do not have a very deep spiritual foundation and look at things from very often an even atheistic perspective. And they're going to find this the most challenging to understand, because they've really limited themselves from Jump Street. They've limited themselves right out of gates. Because the people who are really running the show do understand how these hidden cosmic laws work, and they understand that the occult is simply nothing more than hidden science. That's what the occult world actually is. It's science that you don't know about yet. It's science that you're not privy to because the masters of our reality didn't want you to be privy to it. And what I'm doing and have been doing for the last 16 years is exploding that hidden science out into the world freely, at the risk of, getting on the bad side of my former colleagues and people who are in the big cult that's really running the show. And I've been attempting to tell people who say they have freedom how to go about it and obtaining it. And that's the problem, is many of them are themselves psychologically, spiritually, morally resistant to the true understanding of this science which could liberate them, and instead they prefer to remain willfully ignorant, and that puts them in a position where they can never be liberated. Because, as we're going to talk about, there's only one solution. As incendiary and as angering as that may be for people to hear, there's only one solution, and most human beings don't know what it is. And we'll get to that. So let's jump into the first section, called The Goal and Why We're Not There Yet. This section is the goal of what anarchy really is, the goal of what we say we want to be brought into manifestation and to fruition in human everyday life, and why are we not there yet? What's going to be involved in getting there? Because if you don't know the path to get there, you can never enact the solution. You have to understand your coordinates for direction. And that's unfortunately what many people in the anarchist community still lack the knowledge of, sadly. And I'm going to try to take corrective measures to improve that condition. But again, it's going to be about getting your ego out of the way. And that's where people have a problem. Their ego's in the way. They can hear the answer, and their ego will reject it because it's not what they already have in their mind. See, we're locked as a species. Largely, we're locked into patterns of the neural firing of the brain, the synapses. When they fire a certain way, they wire a certain way, and we get trapped into those ways of thinking, and we can't. We become our own worst, where our own thinking is actually back our own goal. We have to define the goal, and we have to be accurate in our wording about defining the goal. And I think this is a very simple statement. It's very true. It's elegant in its simplicity. True freedom is the overarching stated goal of the anarchist community as a whole. I think we could all agree upon that. We recognize we're not truly free, and we want true freedom. So now we have to define the goal. What is true freedom? If true freedom is the goal, what does that mean? So let's give a simple working definition of what real freedom is. The most accurate definition of true freedom is the ability to exercise one's natural rights without the inhibition of violence, duress, and or coercive restraint initiated by others. Let me repeat that simple working definition of true freedom. This is what real freedom is. It doesn't mean I can do anything that I want. It doesn't mean I can go out and rape, pillage, and murder endlessly with no consequence just because I feel like it. It is not do whatever you feel like doing. True freedom means that you can behave within the confines of natural law, within your natural rights. You don't have the right to initiate harm against other people. That's the non-aggression principle. And you should be able to live your life without the initiation of harm placed upon you by others. They should also be respecting the non-aggression principle. We, of course, as a community have inhibition of violence, duress, and coercive restraint exercise freely. That is the definition of freedom. The human condition is that we do not have that, meaning we are enslaved. The human condition is slavery. That's the fact of the matter. And the anarchist community needs to start using that word at the risk of quote-unquote offending other people. There's many different forms of slavery. Yes, there is overt chain and shackle slavery, which many people in human history have had the horrific misfortune of having had to live under. And it's a tragic horror that should never have existed. But there are other forms of slavery. There is mental slavery. There is even spiritual slavery. There is the slavery of the mind. There is covert slavery of the body. There is people making claims of ownership upon the fruit of our labor, which is euphemized as taxation. Covert slavery is even more dangerous than chain and shackle slavery. More dangerous because people can't see it in the mind's eye. They see the results of what covert slavery is, and they think it's not slavery. That's infinitely more insidious and dangerous than even physical chain and shackle slavery, than battle slavery. Because popular beings convinced that they're not slaves when they are, they will never rebel against that condition. And so if we correctly state that the goal of the anarchist community is to attain that condition of true freedom by which we can exercise our natural rights free from the violence imposed upon us by other beings when we attempt to do so, we are basically saying that we don't want to be enslaved, and that the real goal is to end the current human condition of slavery on this planet, because that is what it is. The goal is to end human slavery, and that starts by ending the understanding of what slavery is in the mind. We have to end the condition of supporting slavery. We have to know what it is up here, and then we have to turn the switch to say, I will never support or condone that. And that's the hardest work there is to do, by my own admission. This is what I've been spending the last 16 years trying to do, with unfortunately little real world change in the aggregate of humanity. There are small subsets of people who have been learning it very well and have really changed their lives for the better and are helping other people to change theirs. But if we look at it in the aggregate, in the collective sense, we are not very close to achieving the goal of ending slavery on this planet in the human population, because government is slavery. And the goal of the anarchist community, if we're going to live truly free, the idea of government cannot be supported, it cannot be condoned, and at some point it must be ended to end slavery. And I completely share that goal with the anarchist community. I share the goal of I share, so I really want to champion the anarchist movement. However, and here's where feelings are going to get hurt, and that's okay, because I have to be honest about my assessment of the situation and what I see. I cannot open up with a lie. I cannot tell you that I see radical progressive change in the right direction. Unfortunately, this is where I'm gauging the dynamic in the anarchist community right here. This is it. So there he goes. This is the anarchist community, unfortunately, and here it's a new what on earth is happening, man. Okay. To interject dark situation. This is Chumpy the hamster. Okay? Say hi to Chumpy. He's nice and cute. He's got big fat cheeks. He's running around on that wheel, and he thinks he may be going someplace, but he's chumped, as they say on the street. Chumpy the hamster is chumped, and he's running on that wheel thinking he's going someplace, and he ain't going nowhere. That's where Chumpy's going. So take however you want to refer to them, the people who are really in control of this planet. When I was among their ranks when I was a Satanist, the two things that they told me that they were going to devastate society on, I mean, they just openly talked about, wait until you see these things coming down the pike. You're going to shit yourself. You're not even going to be able to fathom the level of deception, the level of the engineering of the mind that we are going to put forward over the next many years. And the two things that they referred to were, number one, first and foremost, the New Age movement. They told me that they were going to present to the public the most drastically off forms of spirituality that were going to lead people into a total trap, believing that they had attained actual spiritual awakening, spirituality within themselves. And all of the characteristics of that false awakening, that false spiritual mindset, were just going to devastate the person's spirituality inwardly. And boy, oh boy, did these people fucking do it. Folks, I'm telling you, they annihilated people on this front. And there was very little resistance to it, because people did not have the psychic self-defense and shielding against it. They did not know it was coming, and they did not know what fucking hit them when it hit them. It blindsided them like somebody coming around from the back with a punch to your jaw, knocking you senseless from behind you. That's what happened. And that was number one, that they specifically talked very openly in close quarters and private quarters, private sessions amongst each other. They said the false spirituality that we're going to hit people with is going to be like an absolute atomic explosion right in their face. And they did it. They didn't talk about it. They went out and did it because they had access to all the publishing houses. They just had people with a million different pen names and fronts and organizations write those books, put all those books out, those audio books, those DVDs, those tapes, and they just absolutely ruined people's mindset when it comes to what real spirituality is. Devastated it. The number 2 thing that they talked about that they said was coming down the pike a little bit later was wait until you see how we transform women in society. And all you got to do is look around at the woke community. All you got to do is look around at the entire neo-feminine agenda. If you're paying attention and if you're honest with yourself. And most people aren't doing either thing. Most people aren't truly paying attention, and most people are fucking themselves day long, every day up. And they cherry pick what they want to hear. They cherry pick what they want to believe is true. They say, oh yeah, this I'll take, but oh, this, I'm holding on to that mind control. I refuse to look at that. I refuse to accept that. This makes me uncomfortable. I'm not going to even watch that. Not all the way through. I'll watch it, and when I hear one thing that makes me a little uncomfortable that said, I'm out. And let me tell you something. I hear this more and more and more and more. I hear people that don't want to acknowledge that my research was spot on with all of that. That's why I'm going back to it, because I'm going to smash people's fucking face in it. I'm going to smash your fucking face in it, and that's all I might talk about all next year. I might do every show on this topic. We'll see how it goes, but until I'm satisfied that I've gotten it out there sufficiently, clearly, in depth, to the depth that I want, beyond the limitation of time that I would have at a live event, I'll do as many shows on it as I fucking want to do next season. Until I feel I've gotten the message across in the depth and clarity that I want to get it across, so that knuckle fucking heads start to understand. And you know, another thing that I've gotten, I have to say a couple of things here. And if this goes into a rant show, so be it, that it's a rant show. Okay? I want to tell people 2 things have been happening this year. One, I see a lot of resistance to cherry picking things that I've talked about that I'm not incorrect about. And people will say, oh, Mark, you're so right about all this other stuff, but this one little thing, that interferes with my worldview and my religious belief. And when I mean religion, I'm not talking about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, all this shit. I'm talking about the block in your brain. I'm talking about the things that you still have mind control and social engineering going on up in the thick fucking noggin over. That you want to cherry pick things and say, you're right about all these other things, Mark, and you're so in-depth and knowledgeable about all this shit, but oh, this one thing over here, that just interferes with something that I've just believed in my whole fucking life because the social engineers actually gave me my thoughts on that. That's what it really is, assholes. That's what it really is. That's all it ever was. It's all it ever is. The social engineers implanted something to make you think a certain fucking way that then you believe is your own thought. And how many people in this community are still locked into that modality of consciousness? The vast, overwhelming majority can't lose their religion over certain things. And when I say losing your religion, I literally mean losing your mind control beliefs, not the saying like you're losing your mind, you know, as the phrase losing my religion, like that's what that means in slang. I'm talking about actually getting rid of a mind control technique that's been implanted into your mind by social engineers and Satanists and dark occultists. And one of them, this is one of the big sticking points, where I got a lot of it. 7 years ago, I got better reactions to this entire field ever than I'm getting today. Let me tell you, this engineering has gone to work in deeper, at a far more fundamental, deeper level, and it's so embedded in all forms of media. It's just entrenched. They have it so entrenched everywhere. And let me tell you, the people that understand it the least, men. You guys are, most of you guys are total fucking knuckleheads when it comes to this topic. You cherry pick it, you don't understand it, you don't want to fucking understand it. And even less than that, you want to do even less about it with your actions. That's the problem, is that your actions haven't come forth and helped undo this state. You haven't helped to undo this conditioning. You've fallen right in fucking line with it, dumbasses. That large problem is that God the most resistant to this information. And the other thing is, you have guys that they go into this mode where I'm just going to believe that the problem is just that this is women's nature, and I'm going to then counter it with I'm either going to drop out of society or I'm going to go listen to some dumbass fucking pickup artist and then use some NLP techniques that they teach me to what? Pay into the existing conditioning? Help to perpetuate it instead of undo it? You know what that is? That's a self-loathing fucking chump bitches approach to running away. It's a little fucking boy that says, I'm not going to actually tackle this fucking social engineering problem head on. I'm going to run away like a little bitch. That's what the guy's attitude about it is. That's what the dudes who are resistant to hearing what I lay down in Unholy Feminine are. So again, I'm going to talk about this till the end of this season, then I'm going to deliver it next season. I didn't start this season because time doesn't allow. But let me tell you something, you're going to be hammered the fuck with it until I feel that enough people get it. And I might not move on to another fucking topic. So that's coming up next season of What on Earth is Happening. Hopefully, people will be looking forward, and most of all, you'll clean the fucking shit out of your ears and your eyes and you'll fucking listen. Instead of being fucking cherry-picking dumbasses. And that's how I have to say it, folks, because you guys haven't fucking done a fucking thing. Almost all of you haven't done a fucking thing regarding that and getting up off your fucking lazy asses and getting involved in the fucking war that we're in. Speaking of which, this is one way you can do that. And guess what? It's not a sales pitch. This is how I really feel about it. I feel that most people are lazy fucking losers. You don't want to get up off you don't want to put in the game, you don't want to get involved, you don't want to pay enough time, you don't want to pay enough attention. You don't want to spend enough time, you don't want to pay enough attention. The spiritual currencies that have to be fucking invested to get a return on your investment through actually making real world positive change in this shithole that we're living in. So if you want to stop being a ludtard and you want to stop being a lazy fucking loser, maybe you should sign up for How to Become the True Media. Guess what? If my attitude regarding this toward fucking people has made less people sign up, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say what I really think regarding people and their efforts, and most people's efforts have been total shit. Okay? So this is how to actually get a return on your investment. This is how to actually spend time and attention wisely, ludtard lazy ass. How to Become the True Media is a tech seminar that will teach you the skill sets and life lessons required to actually put skin in the game, to stop being a lazy fucking loser sitting on your fucking couch with your thumb up your fucking ass. All right? "23 weeks of class sessions is what this seminar is. It starts every Monday evening, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time from Monday, July 10th to Monday, December 11th, 2023, for a total of 23 class sessions. We are going to teach in this seminar everything someone technically needs to know to do something like this. To put together a video podcast, to put your voice and actually join the choir of truth, of speaking truth to power to the absolute lunatic psychopaths who are running this entire world into the toilet. If you want to help undo that process, maybe you should learn how to take charge over media creation so that you could put your fucking voice out into the world and stop being a silent loser. You see how that works? When you actually invest time in creating skill sets for yourself, instead of going, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do that. I'm just stupid and I just don't know how to do that. That's not for me.
I don't want to take the time to actually build any skills. I'll just keep being a fucking weak-ass loser my whole life.
That's most people. That's most fucking losers out there. And that's the problem. They're the problem. They're not the solution. They're the problem. I'm not looking for people who are the problem. I don't want the fucking loser dross. I want the people who want to win, who want to be winners, who want to achieve in our lifetime. Some pie-in-the-sky bullshit of centuries to come or aeons to come. Freedom is achievable now if we want it badly enough. Most people are just too fucking lazy losers to want it and to go out and do it. Get up off your ass, lazy ass fucking losers, and do something. Learn something. Invest some fucking time and stop being a lazy piece of shit. What are people sitting around doing? I wonder, what are you doing with your fucking time? You're watching fucking Netflix. What? You're playing fucking video games. What the fuck are you doing? Get up off your ass and do something. Take this seminar and you'll learn how to do something. You won't be a weak-ass fucking loser going, I don't know how to do anything. It's what you sound like, too. It's a very good impression, actually. You didn't know I was an impression master. Well, now you know. Yeah, it's exactly what you sound like, too. We're going to teach you everything from the basics of how to use an operating system on a computer, not the fucking imbecilic black fondle slab. Here's most people. Oh, I'm doing something. Oh, here we go. I'm doing something. Don't you see? Wait. Let me post that meme to Facebook. I'm doing something. Can't you see? I got my black fondle slab. Yeah, that's doing something. Fucking imbeciles. Imbeciles. Pure fucking imbeciles. What we're going to teach you is actually how to use a fucking real tool. Instead of being a tool, we're going to teach you how to use a tool. You know? Like the Satanists have been using people as tools since time immemorial. We're going to actually show you how to do the right thing and use a piece of technology as it's intended, as a fucking tool to improve the world. All right? We'll teach you operating system skills. We'll teach you everything from how to start making a text outline. Very simple stuff. How to manage your files, first and foremost. How to copy information, copy disks, copy files to other disks. Simple shit. Shit that everybody should already know how to do. How to make a basic outline so you can follow your thoughts and your progression of what you want to get across to people. How to make graphics. How to make presentations. How to make audio podcasts, how to make video podcasts, how to do a live streaming show, how to make a website. All of these things will be covered in How to Become the True Media. And not just the tech aspects of these things, folks. Again, this is what I've been trying to emphasize in interviews this year. It's not just the technical aspects that I teach as the conductor of this seminar. I am teaching life skill lessons. I'm teaching you how to invest your attention, how to invest time. I'm teaching you how to build courage. I'm teaching you how to build persistence, how to follow things through instead of giving the fuck up like a loser gives up. I'm teaching you how to keep your energy and attention focused so you can actually learn something and then carry it out in the real world. Instead of saying, that's too hard, I'm giving up. This is what people generally do because they were taught that way by their imbecilic parents. They were taught, if that's hard for you to do, sweetheart, just put it down and go move on to something that's easy to do. Instead of them building fucking character in their child and saying, try harder. Spend more time with it until you master it. Have persistence and patience. Don't give up. Never give up. No, how many parents have instilled that in a child? No, that's okay, sweetie. If that's too hard for you to do, just put it down. You'll be fine. You can just go on and do something else that's much easier for you. And you're making your kid weak and fucking soft. You're making them soft. You're not making them soft. Soft is not a bad thing. Soft, however, is an extremely bad thing to turn a fucking child into, and then they're going to become a soft adult. And we got way too many of them walking around. That's why we're enslaved. That's why the human condition is slavery, because most people are just fucking soft. It's one of the worst things that could ever be said about any human being. And that's the problem. Is we've got a bunch of soft-ass motherfuckers walking around. If you don't want to be a ludtard, if you don't want to be a lazy ass sitting on your fucking ass with your thumbs up it, if you don't want to be a unmotivated, undriven loser, maybe you want to join How to Become the True Media. How's that for a sales pitch, guys? You think I'm really telling the truth about what I feel about fucking people out there? All the ludtards who are sitting on their ass doing nothing. Watching somebody like me who's been doing this for 16, going to be going on 17 years without lifting a fucking finger. You do it, Mark. You do all the heavy lifting. People making demands on the people who have done the most. Go fuck yourself. Go make demands on your lazy fucking ass and other people's lazy ass. Don't make demands on my fucking time. Shove that shit up your ass and spin on it. I've done more than enough for 1,000 fucking lifetimes, boys. All right?
I like this character. I like this character.
Running narrative, pushing LARPs.
Hello, man. I don't think you're honest, and I think you're a LARPer just like them. I gave you blue, because I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. You fuck me, I'm gonna ruin you.
Come on. Let's go. Should I drop the link for him? Hold on.
Motherfucker.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
So they're really ramping up this. UFOs have come. It's time for us all to freak out, pay attention to the sky. This is like one of those sad stories of don't look up. Do you look up? Do you not look up? Do you follow propaganda? Do you not follow propaganda? Are you screwed if you do? Are you screwed if you don't? Well, personally, my thought process, well, go look what's going on, but don't obsess over it. Because God forbid, there actually is something coming and you don't know about it.
Bombshell claims from a military whistleblower. UFO wreckage recovered by the U.S. kept classified by a secret government program for decades. Tonight, a world television exclusive you will only see on News Nation. Welcome to Elizabeth Vargas Reports, earning your trust every night.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the U.S. defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
Grush sitting down with award-winning investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who's reporting for News Nation and has spent years reporting on the UFO question.
What conclusion?
That was actually quite interesting. So he's standing and he's in a standing position. He's got his elbows and shoulders up high, and he's holding his hands up high around his upper chest area. So he's holding his stress in that area, which is odd. It also doesn't speak to truth because he's putting his stress towards the photograph in front of him and the individual in front of him. Now, the thing with whistleblowers that seems to be universal, they're whistleblowers because the people that they're supposed to trust aren't trustworthy. And especially if it's government, because it tends to make people disappear, which by default, whistleblowers tend to be very aware of their surroundings, around every corner. Who's coming through a door? I know where the exits are because I am afraid. Their fear is based on that realm. So for his stress to only be with the interviewer and a photograph at this moment and not sitting in front of the camera, although albeit we haven't seen much, I call it suspicious.
Did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say
Okay, so no movement in that forehead, no believe me look, no nothing, but a tight-lipped, and we have portrayal with the whole swinging thing with the head. Tight-lipped portrayal. I've seen that before.
Crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
And so there we go. We get to see that whole thing. No stress. He's talking with his hands at his pee-pee area, which actually speaks towards the personality. He likes gratification. So we have an individual, well, he looks like he's had little to no stress in his life. And it could be the lighting making it that way, but I doubt it. Or he's a psychopath, or both. And he motions towards his pee-pee area a lot for the gratification part of a personality. And we're tight-lipped. We don't ever see these kind of people. Generally, when they give off that body language, people tend to not want them around because they're creepy, especially when they interact with females.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts,
And here we finally see some stress in the forehead. Quite a number. I thought it was totally nuts. So the believe me look comes in, and just an FYI, this is all secondhand information. He's not a whistleblower of firsthand information. And at this point, we don't really need to go over anything else, because as soon as you realize the individual that is supposed to be your witness is not a firsthand witness, they're no longer a witness. It's hearsay. And therefore, everything they say has no validity. But I did want to go over the personality that we were seeing coming through, considering it just seemed, I think we've pissed off the natives. Let's send in the UFOs. Because we've all seen the whistleblowers for the Biden administration. And they certainly don't behave this way, do they? We've seen the whistleblowers for the Clinton Foundation. They don't behave this way. There's not a one of them that's excited to be there. And this guy is so happy. So cue the aliens.
If you like it, please share. And thanks for.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for Gold subscribers.
Reading this form shows the pure distinct. This information, this source that came forward, is a paid informant by the FBI. This has nothing to do with Giuliani. This has nothing to do with the information that he brought forward. It's totally separate, and it's extremely credible because he's a paid informant. I made some notes after I left the skiff based on the information, and I'll share that with you guys right now. Basically, what was happening there is back in 2015, 2016, Burisma was looking to buy a U.S.-based oil and gas company. And this came from being advised by Hunter Biden and his partners. Biden said Shokin was corrupt. That was around the time of this meeting, was when Joe Biden, as vice president, had said that the prosecutor Shokin was corrupt. They hired Hunter on the board to make the problems go away. That's what they specifically said. Hunter advised that they could raise more money if they bought a U.S. So the was trying to do the right thing, trying to advise they shouldn't go this route. They should hire an attorney, work out their problems that they were being investigated for because they were having other legal problems. And that's why they were being investigated by this prosecutor Shokin. The informant was advising them, don't go this route. Why would you buy another U.S. company while you're investigated? That's not a good idea. So he's trying to tell them to do the right thing. Donor Burisma said that Hunter was stupid and that his other business partner was smart. He also said that he paid $5 million to one Biden and he paid $5 million to another Biden. And it was a bribery. He also told the informant this is common practice in Russia and Ukraine. It's common practice, it's part of business there, that's how their culture works, that they will pay bribery money in order to get business deals done. And that many businesses, they take that into account, they put it in their budget basically when they're preparing to buy another company or start another company, that's just normal. And so over in Ukraine, for them to consider hiring Hunter Biden on the board in order to make their problems go away, which was the prosecutor Shokin, who was investigating Burisma for corruption and legal problems. This was definitely illegal for a vice president of the United States and their family members. The informant had asked the owner of Burisma if he was happy that Trump won, and he said no, he was not happy. Remember, he had invested a lot of money into the Bidens to make his problems go away. But he did say that it would take 10 years for all of us to find out the payments made to the Bidens because of how many bank accounts there were. He said at the time there were no direct payments made to the big guy, but in a meeting later, after he had become more upset as things were unfolding, he told the informant that he has 2 pieces of evidence showing proof of payment to Hunter and specifically Joe Biden. You see, I think what everyone needs to understand is that business owners, at least most smart ones, whether they're good or bad, whether they perform their business in a legal manner or a corrupt manner, they always keep records of their business payments, accounts and receivables. That's how it's done. And this owner of Burisma kept a record, especially of the bribes. And if you're in an industry where you have to pay bribes to get your business deals done, then you always want to keep a record and keep proof of your bribes, because that's how you make sure you get people to follow through on what they're done with. What I read today is again shocking. Just as what I read in the Treasury Department with all the SARS report is shocking. But we are going to continue following this investigation. We're going to continue to look into every single thing that we can uncover. We need the FBI to keep cooperating with us. That's extremely important. And I have very high expectations of Christopher Wray that he'll do the right thing and continue showing us the information that we're asking for. What I'm upset about, though, is the FBI doesn't think the American people are worthy of this unclassified information. I certainly do. I think the American people deserve to see it and know every single bit of it. That's why when I left this gift, I made all my notes on this piece of paper here so that I could explain everything to the American people.
Contempt of Congress being brought against Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. And what are the penalties for contempt of Congress? Sometimes we know that those get referred over to the DOJ and they bring criminal charges. We've covered the Steve Bannon case here, and they want jail time for him. So what about Christopher Wray? What if he's in contempt of Congress? Should he go to prison? Well, we have Representative James Comer who says that's up to Christopher Wray, but it could be a very real possibility. And this comes on the heels of the preparation of the full resolution that the House Oversight Committee is going to be submitting into Congress that will be seeking to hold Christopher Wray in contempt, as he should be. And the question is that going to be penalty enough? Or maybe they should also defund them and pull their money from their FBI headquarters. We'll see. A lot of possibilities, but this explains why Christopher Wray might end up in prison.
James Comer is with me now. Great to see you. So, first of all, will you get an unredacted document by going after Christopher Wray?
Well, that's what we're asking for. That's what the subpoena says. It's very specific. It's a very document, and at the very top of the document it says unclassified in big bold letters. So there's really no reason for the FBI not to hand this document over.
So, Chairman, what has been the delay? I mean, because at one point, I think I covered it early in the day a couple of weeks ago, that he wanted you, Christopher Wray wanted you to walk over to the FBI and see it there. I mean, this has been a really weird back and forth.
Well, even before that, Harris, he wouldn't even admit he had the document. It took them a long time to admit they had the document. When he finally figured out that Senator Grassley and I both knew without a shadow of a doubt that the document existed, then they finally admitted to having the document, and they said that they would allow me and Jay Haskins to go classified and review redact copy of the document. Now, we all know what happened after we came out of there. We were in there for 90 minutes. Not only did we review the 1023 form that implicates Joe Biden in a potential bribery scheme, then they gave us a briefing. They told us things like there was an ongoing investigation and this document had been handed to the investigator. And then we walk right outside and Jamie Raskins says things that just aren't true. He says that this was part of Rudy Giuliani, that the document had something to do with Rudy Giuliani. It's a and bold.
What?
He also said he didn't recall the FBI saying that the document was needed for an ongoing investigation. They said that 4 times, that it was part of an ongoing investigation. So if nothing else, Christopher Wray can thank Jamie Raskin for what's going to happen to him Thursday morning at 9 o'clock unless he produces that document in the next 24 hours.
Wow. Well, who's on the subpoena list now?
That's tomorrow. Imminent.
I'm sorry?
Who's on the subpoena list now?
Just Christopher Wray. He is the one person.
But
yes.
You're looking at other things. You've been working with the whistleblower, so on and so forth. Are there any other people that you want to bring in?
We're going to bring in a lot of people very soon that pertain to a lot of different areas. The one missing piece before we start bringing people in for depositions and things like that is this Form 1023.
So it's important evidence.
Because it's important evidence because remember what it says in there. This dates back from 2020 all the way back to 2017. The briber alleges that he gave a bribe to the vice president, and he did it through various banks and various shell companies. That's exactly what we've uncovered, and what we presented to the American people happened in Romania.
Oh, interesting. So you're going to match what you have learned against the actual evidence, and you're put that. Last one. Will people evidence?
Presenting bank records that show wires from China that were then laundered through shell companies that went down to Biden. We showed that Biden received money less than 2 weeks after he left Romania while he was vice president that went through shell companies that was funneled down to the Biden. So we're following the money, Harris, and there's a lot of money. There are many more bank accounts, and this is an important part of our investigation.
We talked about this yesterday, but this is the keystone. This is that piece of evidence. I think yesterday we used the analogy of finding the piece of trash that matches the DNA, which I think is exactly how they got Kohberger, right? Brian Kohberger. And that evidence now matches, which gives them justification to get a search warrant, which then gives them access to the car, which gives access to actual DNA, which then gives access to the home, which then gives access to the computer, which then gives access to all of the bank accounts and all the records, and you get everything. everything, right? The person's entire life, because now they can just go right up the chain. They need to crack it open just a smidge. And that's why this document is so dang important. That's why the FD 1023 is being fought over to death by Christopher Wray. He's willing to go into contempt. That's how important this document is. It's the keystone. It's going to connect everything together, and they are panicked as can be. Now, as we talked about previously, Comer, they already know what's in the document. They've already got the whistleblower. They know the materiality of this, but they need to show that the FBI was covering it up, and that's why it needs to come from the FBI. They need to say, see, look what they have. Look what they've done. That's our FBI.
Christopher Wray doesn't turn over that document. Is he going to go to prison?
Prison?
Well, that's up to Christopher Wray. I know that I wouldn't want to be held in contempt of Congress and end up in prison being the former head of the FBI. Look, this is a simple request. It's not a classified document. They acted like it didn't even exist. So just hand the document over.
Chairman Comer.
Going through contempt proceedings being a big scar. We know these are lifelong institutionalists, to be held in contempt as the director of the FBI. Only modern director I know to be held in contempt, and Congress is getting very close to doing that, all because he's got to protect Joe. It's not about protecting what? The whistleblower, or protecting the sanctity of the FBI or something. They leak like a sieve. They talk to anybody who will listen to them if it's Trump problems, or they listen to anybody who comes into their office if it's a Trump problem, like Michael Sussman and so on. So this is just a giant cover-up. They are all in on it. Representative James Comer is taking this forward, and apparently the resolution is going to be dropped and will be voted upon. Here is what they told us from Comer's release from the Oversight Committee. It says the House Committee on Oversight released the resolution today. We're going to read through it and the accompanying report to find FBI Director Christopher Wray in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with the subpoena. We are meeting June 8th, 9 a.m. Thursday to talk about it. Comer said, we've been clear. The FBI must produce this document. To date, the FBI has refused to comply with our lawful subpoena. Once Director Wray confirmed this thing exists, the FBI started their cover-up by leaking a false narrative to the media. One of those people who was involved in that was Lion Jamie Raskin. The case is not closed, as the White House Democrats and the FBI would have you believe. The FBI created this record based on information from a credible informant who has worked with the FBI for over a decade and was paid 6 figures. The informant had firsthand knowledge with the foreign national, we're going to learn more about who we think this is, who claimed to have bribed then Vice President Biden. And now, Attorney General Barr has confirmed that the record was given to the U.S. Attorney in Delaware for the purpose of that investigation. Comer says Americans have lost trust in the FBI and their ability to enforce the law impartially. They demand answers and accountability, and the committee is going to hold them accountable. So the hearing will be taking place tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, and we will cover it, not live at the time, but we will pick back up and review the entire hearing and see exactly what went down there. But the resolution was dropped, and Comer put a copy of this on his Twitter account. He says, I just introduced the resolution on the floor of the House to hold FBI Director Wray in contempt of Congress. And this is the resolution. Let's bring our eyes upon it and see what the House says. This is the resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find Christopher Wray, Director of the FBI, in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. We'll go through this and see what it looks like. The form of the resolution is as follows, saying that be it resolved that Christopher Wray, Director of the FBI, shall be found in contempt of Congress for failure to comply with a subpoena. Saying pursuant to U.S. Code, the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall certify the report of the Committee of Oversight detailing the refusal of Christopher Wray to produce to our committee, saying that this should proceed against him as provided by law. And now that the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, is authorized to take all appropriate action to enforce the subpoena. And so we have a substantive document here, and they're detailing for us the background of this. This is what it looks like. They give us an executive summary. They say the FBI and Director Wray willfully failed to comply with the subpoena. We're investigating influence peddling. The subpoena said give us all the documents. A specific 10-day form a scheme involving Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for certain actions. He was vice president. Wray and his staff have refused to produce the documents, and Wray's unwillingness to comply has interfered our congressional investigation. And so therefore, having exhausted all of the available options for obtaining compliance, the chairman recommends the House hold Director Wray in contempt for his failure to comply with our subpoena. An important corollary to the powers expressly granted to Congress by the Constitution is the responsibility to perform rigorous oversight of the executive. Supreme Court has recognized this congressional power on numerous occasions. They said that this is essential. The power of inquiry with the process to enforce the inquiry is essential, said the Supreme Court. They said the power of Congress to conduct investigations is just inherent in the legislative process, and that power is broad. We also had an act passed in 1946 which extended this authority, and the Oversight Committee is standing under House Rule 10. Rule 10 grants us broad authority. Rule 11 specifically authorizes the committee to do the things that we've done. And so now you see how this is being stacked up on top of itself. They're making the case from the highest level. They're building a foundation. Okay, the Supreme Court says we can do this stuff, so we did it. We've got a couple cases, McGrain versus Doherty. We've got another case, Watkins versus United States. Supreme Court has interpreted the Constitution to say we can do it. We also passed another act saying we can do it. Then, once we know that we constitutionally can do it, because the Supreme Court said we can, then we formed a House Rule to say that we're doing this. Then we're doing it. We're actually doing the thing. Now, the committee is using Rule 10 and 11 to conduct an investigation of the president and his family for domestic practices. We can do this. We're considering legislation, presidents and their families to stop this public corruption and influence peddling from happening, and it's directly within the purview of our oversight. Now, they explain some of the background, the legislative purpose. Why do they want to do this? They want to prevent financial transactions from being structured in a way to evade disclosure. They and it's directly within the purview of our oversight. Now, they explain some of the background, the legislative purpose, why to do this, to prevent financial transactions from being structured in a way to evade disclosure. They want to strengthen the Bank Secrecy Act. The committee aims to draft legislation for more transparency, too. 3 great reasons. But without having the 1023 form, the document the committee's subpoena captures, the committee cannot assess whether the allegations in the document pose an actual risk. We can't tell. And because the FBI refuses to cooperate, the committee cannot use the form to evaluate whether anyone from the Biden family received payments from the foreign national, how much those payments entailed, if they were made, and what, if any, companies, including shell companies, were used to make such payments. And since the document was redacted, the committee cannot interview the individuals involved, request documents from them, or corroborate or disprove the CHS statements. This evidence would be highly relevant to developing legislation to strengthen the financial disclosure requirements regarding foreign transactions involving senior elected officials' family members, and implement financial disclosure laws. Now, the FBI's delays in acknowledging the existence of this form and refusal to allow us possess it is interfering and directly impacting the committee's ability to investigate the Biden family peddling and corruption. Now, they give us a little bit of a background on this. They say in 2020, the Republican committee began investigating big tech companies, saying free and fair elections are very important. While seeking to converse about this, we sought answers about a particular story. You remember the New York Post story, the one that was banned back during the election, the one that was covered up with the aid of CIA, Mike Morrell, and Anthony Blinken, the current Secretary of State. After reviewing the laptop, the investigation expanded to include other areas, including the Department of Treasury and the suspicious activity reports being created about Biden's family members. The committee learned about various SARs, the suspicious activity reports, from the Treasury Department and began to inquire. They asked for subpoenas for the bank records. 4 banks with specific subpoenas tailored to Biden family members and their business associates. Records were unique. Bank records obtained have revealed a pattern that foreign nationals and foreign companies appear to have sought access and influence by creating lucrative business relationships with Biden family members and their associates while Biden was VP. Long time, 2009 to 2017. Now, we had a couple of documents that were drafted. The first bank records memo. We had a second bank records memo. A whistleblower finally came forward. Through legally protected, highly credible, unclassified disclosures, we learned the following. There is this FD 1023 form. According to the whistleblower, the FBI and DOJ have been in possession of the document. These allegations followed the pattern established by our other investigation. So in light of these, we demanded to know more and we wanted the document from the FBI. The FBI said we would accommodate you, but nope, didn't satisfy the subpoena. We couldn't even retain it. And significant parts of the information provided was redacted. If we got the unredacted form, it would help. So we sent a subpoena. We got a letter back. The subpoena said a bunch of, response said a bunch of nonsense. Oh, we can't do this, sources and methods. They had a meeting together on the 15th. There was a phone call. Chairman Comer and Grassley requested a call with Ray. Phone call did not take place until May 31st. FBI does. For a phone call in May, then back to you a couple weeks later. I thought I was slow. Letter from Chairman Comer. On May 8th, Comer Director Ray a letter emphasizing the delay. Got to stop the delaying it. We got a briefing finally from May 22nd. Comer sent another letter on May 24th. May 30th, FBI responded. Finally, they get the phone call. He's like, ugh, I got to talk to Congress. Hang on. Letter from the FBI on June 1st. Then we have very in reviews. FBI headquarters. Then FBI staff allowed Comer and Raskin a review of the form. That's what happened this week. 2 staff members attended. The FBI also briefed Comer and Raskin and staff about some of the info, but they were unable to answer questions. Several times, the FBI refused to answer because the information in the form was used in, quote, an ongoing investigation. On the same date, FBI Chairman Comer got a letter from Chairman Comer describing its accommodations, but the FBI did not allow them to keep the form. So therefore, they say they failed to produce the form. Now, they give us some perspective on contempt. They tell us that these proceedings date back over 215 years. Valuable mechanism in our system. History is replete with this, and they've used it in the past. Within the past 25 years, it's been used before. Chairman Dan Burton recommended contempt for held in contempt by General. Another contempt report was issued. 2012, Eric Holder, remember him from Obama years, he refused to comply with the subpoena. Obama eventually asserted executive privilege over the documents, but the committee held Holder in contempt. 17 House Democrats crossed party lines to rebuke Obama's claim of executive privilege. The House then considered and passed another bill authorizing a civil lawsuit to compel the production. The resolution contained a criminal contempt citation, and it authorized a lawsuit to compel, and the court ruled in favor of this. But then Lois Lerner was also held in contempt, and another committee moved to hold Bill Barr in contempt. So they say, in conclusion, Director Wray's actions impeded Congress. His staff has willfully failed to comply with the subpoena. It's necessary to enforce it. The committee is going to be voting. Some nice background there on how this works and exactly what the FBI failed to do. Long list of requests and conversations. Can you give us this? Can you give us that? Long drawn out process because they don't want to give anything over, because they know this document implicates not only Joe Biden and the Biden crime family, but it also implicates the FBI for covering it up, not doing anything with this material. If this was a Trump document, he would have already been imprisoned for it, but they don't do the same thing for the left. But a lot of Congress people are excited about moving forward, and contempt is not the only potential repercussion for the FBI.
I think, Maria, what we're really seeing is more of this administration just trying to hide the facts that there's a lot of corruption that went on. To me, it's kind of damning of the Justice Department to keep delaying releasing these things to us. We've requested it. Chairman Comer has done a good job of laying out the facts, and they've continued to put their head in the sand about the whole thing.
You know, I don't understand how it is possible that the Oversight Committee is being denied your ability to have oversight of this, deal with the story.
Well, and the same about it. We need to go back to what Congress has the power to do, and that's the power of the ball with us. When we start cutting funding, they're obviously putting justice on the back burner and allowing their own political beliefs to run the show, and that's just not what it's supposed to be about. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing time and time again from God and other investment bodies dealing with this. Chairman Comer has clearly facts bottom of
The debate, did you lose some of that ability of the power of the purse because of the rules around the appropriations? Here's former House Speaker keeping the FBI in check. Watch this.
I think they should dig in their heels and insist on the changes. You and I have discussed it before. They should kill the FBI's proposed $3.5 billion headquarters, a building larger than the Pentagon. It's an absurdity to create, but that's going to require one day at a time, hanging tough, taking one fight at a time, including all 12 appropriations bills, and insisting on the investigations actually being performed in an effective way.
Will Congress do
Congressman,
that?
the FBI wants $3.5 billion
that.
for new headquarters. Isn't it true with these new rules around the debt ceiling that if the Senate does not get its worth over the FBI
in total dollars, $233 million is what the administration's requesting at this time, and Speaker Gingrich is absolutely correct. And I did not vote for the debt ceiling. I'm one of four, as you know, that did not, that has not ever voted for it. Congressman Buck, Biggs, Matt Gaetz out of Florida, and myself are the only four who vote for it. Those are some of them that we did. You know, there's debt's going to cripple us in this country, as you well know, and we just are not taking a very serious view of it. And this is just another case. Build a building that's a bit larger than the Pentagon, for goodness sakes. You know, when I was the mayor of Knox County, I remember
Pentagon is the U.S. military, right? And the FBI is going to get a bigger building for domestic surveillance.
Remember, I was talking to some of the old timers about a building across the street that they bought for the education department, and somebody said, "Well, what are they going to do with that building?" And one of them said they're going to fill it, and that's exactly what the FBI will do with this new monstrosity. It's ridiculous, and they continue just to subvert justice. They've been sitting on this Hunter Biden thing for over 5 years now.
We've got other solutions. The FBI is operating on their own terms as it continues to cover up for the Biden crime family. We've got Christopher Wray scheduled to be held in contempt. We'll see what Congress does with this tomorrow as the Oversight Committee brings it in front of the American people for a vote. And of course, we will continue to cover.
Picture of Donald Trump. Those in the courtroom only saw the back of his head. We could see his face. We could see his expression. The overflow room is actually the jury meeting room here with 300 seats and a few tiny televisions, so small, the kind of televisions you get in a low-cost hotel room. We watched this on TV and through a feed, and we could see, even through the grainy picture, Donald Trump sitting, no expression, nothing to say, idle at the table with his hands folded.
Scott, we know South Florida has a reputation of being one of those areas where court cases move quickly through the system. What do you expect in terms of the progress of this case? Is this something, because we know prosecutors want a speedy trial, do you think they'll get what they want?
Jack Smith has already articulated that. He said so much during his news conference last week that he is going to seek a speedy trial. You're right. This is one of those districts in America, the Southern District of Florida, which is known as a rocket docket, a place where cases move expediently compared to other federal courts in America. But so much of this is going to be up to the parties. Does the defense choose to slow this down? Does the defense choose to file motions to potentially delay things or make this case move more sluggishly? That's going to be in the hands of the parties, but this case is still earmarked for Judge Eileen Cannon. We learned that today in the arraignment. Judge Cannon, based in Fort Pierce, Florida, a ways to the north of here. She, of course, was a Trump appointee. You may recall her name. She was the judge who oversaw litigation and challenges to the search warrant last year. She has this case, at least for now, and some of the timing could ultimately be up to her.
Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert introduced articles of impeachment against President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Boebert claims that the administration gave aid and comfort to America's enemies in Afghanistan and colluded with the Taliban. Boebert also criticized the drone strike that killed 10 civilians in Afghanistan, including so far response.
Without He's failed to uphold his oath of office and preserve and defend the Constitution. From illicit family building, business dealings, and millions of dollars in bribe payments, extended. Joe and his star Kamala Harris have allowed an invasion at our southern border, jeopardizing the lives of hundreds of thousands and killing hundreds of thousands with fentanyl. They've directed their border patrol to release illegals into our country unfettered. In fact, the judge even had to intervene and stop Biden's release program. Joe Biden has violated Article 2 of the Constitution to take care and respect the laws of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm introducing articles of impeachment against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging.
Look around, you'll see crazy stuff. I just was in Vegas. You ever been to Vegas? Yeah, not that Vegas. I'm talking the perimeter of Vegas. Have you ever seen that? I saw a pimp on a bicycle. Puffy on a Huffy, okay? Like, he didn't even have bling bling. He just had ching ching, ching ching. I heard him go, get in the basket, ho. Come on. One in the basket, one on the nanner seat. Let's roll. I was fascinated. I was fascinated by he was see something that you can't get your eyes off of. I could not stop thinking about this prostitute because she didn't have any teeth. And not for any sick sexual reason. I'm not that kind of comic. That's you and your disgusting heads. That's you. You need therapy. I was fascinated because as a woman, if you are truly honest with yourself, there are times in your life when you don't like what you look like, right? You don't want to leave the house. So maybe your hair came out wrong, your makeup's bad, you feel chubby. So I wish I had the confidence of a no-truth. That is confident broad right there. Anybody who can sell for a living with no chiclets? Holy shit.
I like this character.
You find it funny it's happening. That's why I wanted to come to Boston, because you were Boston strong long before any problems, right? Yeah.
a city to mess with. Even the commercials are tough here in Boston. Hey, come on down to Mikey's Used Cars. Or don't f you, we don't care. Keep your money, okay? Too much fun. You know what? You're fun in like a good way. People are so ridiculously stupid now. They don't have a sense of humor. That's why I'm excited they're going to make the station wagon again. Right? Because that's when this country had a sense of humor. Not only is it a car with basement paneling, hilarious. Like, is that a vehicle? Is it a forest? What the is passing me? I don't know what that is. If you were a kid who had to sit in that very back seat of that station wagon, that seat that faced the oncoming traffic, right away you knew you were the disposable child. This was the hierarchy of the 70s. Because your parents knew at any moment that death trap back door might just swing open. And your little ass would just roll right out. They wouldn't even pull over to get you. They didn't even love you that much. They just slow the car down, roll down the way, get back in this car. And you'd have to apologize. I'm sorry. It's a different time. If you had that station wagon, it was really the best as a kid because your parents couldn't see you, so you could do whatever you wanted. You could pretend to be kidnapped in the back seat. No one cared. You're being back. And you know people had a sense of humor back then, because what did other drivers do? Nothing. That's nothing. Maybe honk the horn, make a face at your parents. Yeah. Nowadays, let's see if people have a sense of humor. When you're not, if you got a kid, make them pretend to be kidnapped in the backseat of your car, just for fun. Please, there'd be choppers and flares and Nancy Grace at the exit.
But if I didn't say it, I want proof of it. You know, I am 57 motherfucking years old. I could forget a few things. But I'm not going to see shit go down the way I seen it. Not going to go that way no more. No more. You know, people like to call police departments on people while they're alive. I've done it. Only because I had a vindictive issue about something. And I'm not going to be that way no more. I can't be that way no more because I can go to jail. I have a YouTube channel that puts me out in the public eye. That's a fact. If you don't want to be in the public eye and you don't want people picking on you, then don't be on the internet. But see, when it comes to when they come off, my babies. The federal law strictly prohibits the distribution of obscene matter. I would trust Edward with my children any day of the fucking week, you freak. Girl, fuck them kids and fuck you too. Fuck. My babies.
Busters, you don't even know shit, so fuck off, dude. You're a piece of shit that you never even got laid, dude. You probably ever even been on a commercial or a movie or anything, and you're just a piece of shit, dude, so fuck off.
Slaw, you can talk. You can talk.
I'm just used to being silent and being friendly, and I'm tired of it, dudes. I'm tired of people talking shit, so fuck off, LARP Busters. Beat me in person, you motherfucker. You piece of shit, motherfucker. I will beat your ass. I've had more women on accident you ever had on purpose when I was younger, you motherfucker. So fuck off. You want to talk shit? Pull up, bitch.
You know, I'm wondering if Dinkus and Tweety are doing like either the same kind of drugs, drinking the same water, maybe getting the same spiel from the Muffin Man. Because they're both, I got a blast, but I don't know what to say. Right?
Betty, you're not going to be able to mumble like that or stutter like that if you're going to go fight Nicolina.
Hey, those are maybe too many words for somebody like an ex-drug user like Dank to be using. He might spit out a tooth, all right?
Live stream, if you're looking for that smoke from Nicolina, you better not be fucking sounding like a goddamn broken record.
That's right.
Calm down.
Oh, dude, no, this guy's got the hashtag raging on Cajon Pass. Having to stream. It's off work driving home while he's driving. Gotta stream. Gotta run a stream. In his chick's car. Dude, wow.
Hi. Last year, we did a series of videos on LRAD, L-R-A-D, which stands for Long Range Acoustic Devices.
It's a beautiful fall day here in New England. Recently, there's been a lot of interest in this because of all of the protests that are occurring around the world. And we've gotten a lot of questions as to whether or not some of the injuries that have been reported by people who participated in those protests, whether or not they could be due to an LRAD device. By definition, an acoustic device attacks the ear. The target is the ear. Whether it's through the ear canal or through the bones around the ear, it is an only painfully loud sound. It isn't stealthy. And the kinds of injuries that were reported, I've seen the videos and I've read the reports, they're not consistent with that. There's facial swelling, there's swelling of the lips, the eyelids, there's burns, blisters. An acoustic device is not going to do that. Even if you could up the energy to incredible levels to injure the skin or burn the skin, you'd have to use so much power that you'd make everybody instantly deaf. So it's unlikely that it was an acoustic device that did that. The injuries are also not consistent with chemical burns. Any kind of an irritant that could irritate the skin, injure the dermis to the point that you form burns, is going to do an order of magnitude more harm to the mucous membranes in the eyes, the mouth, the respiratory tract. You'd have coughing, people would be complaining of shortness of breath, and you don't see those kinds of reports. The injuries are, however, consistent with a microwave attack. And there are weaponized microwave systems designed for what's called LRAD, which is the same series of letters but stands for Long Range Area Denial. They're built by military contractors. There's even some websites and some YouTube videos by some military contractors who've produced these systems. Raytheon is one. So they do exist, and it is plausible they may have been used in some of these protests. I find that very troubling because even the most powerful microwave weapon is not a battlefield weapon. It won't take out a T-90 tank, won't even take out high power. So these devices are actually used for lightly armed or unarmed civilians. They're used by governments on their own citizens, and that's what I find so troubling. So today what we're going to do is we're going to cover the use of microwaves, their interaction with different types of materials, and then jump right ahead to a means of defending yourself or defeating a microwave attack. Now, the way microwaves work is they interact with water molecules. All electromagnetic radiation consists of photons and an associated electric field, a sinusoidal varying electric field. And because water molecules are dipoles, they're asymmetric, when a microwave interacts with a water molecule, it water molecule attempt to align with that varying magnetic field. In a microwave oven, that field is varying at about 2.5 gigahertz, or 2.5 billion times per second. That flipping of the water molecule creates frictional heating, transfers that heat to the non-responsive solids in the food, and cooks your. The problem, though, in terms of a weapon system, is that the microwaves interact at that frequency moderately or modestly with the water. It takes a lot of water molecules to absorb some of that energy of the microwave as it's penetrating, and so the microwaves penetrate deeply, which is good if you're a pot roast or a casserole. You want the heat deposited deep in the food. But a microwave oven operates at a low frequency, while a microwave operates at a full frequency, 80 and 20 gigahertz. So instead of a 12.5 centimeter wavelength, the wavelength is down around 3.2 millimeters. Because it's flipping those water molecules 100 billion times per second, there's much more energy deposited in each water molecule. As a consequence, you don't need very many water molecules to absorb all the energy, and so all the energy is deposited in the outer layers, the outer 1 millimeter or so of the target tissue. From a weapons point of view, that's a good thing, because if you're trying to create pain or injury, it takes a lot more energy to elevate the temperature of a amount of tissue. If you deeply in tissues, a lot of there. All of that energy military to do with ability to focus or collimate that beam to the wave. It's not the size of the reflective optics or the horns or the antennas. It's the size